Hello, fourth grade, and welcome to lesson 2-6. We're going to be working on subtracting greater numbers today. So our last lesson, we started working with subtraction and regrouping. Today, we're going to be working on the same thing. We're just using bigger numbers this time.
Three of the country's most scenic national parks are in Alaska. How much larger is the area of Gates of the Arctic than the combined area of Denali and Kenai fjords? When you want to combine two quantities to find how much they are together, what operation can be used?
So stop and think over here. When we want to combine or put together two quantities or two numbers, what operation do we use? Do we add or do we subtract? Think about what you want to do here. If it's addition, we're putting pieces together, which is what they're asking us here. So for this particular question, we would use addition as our strategy.
You use addition to find out how much two quantities are together. When you want to compare two quantities to find how much more one is than the other, what operation can be used?
Select your answer.
Now for this question, they're asking us something a little bit different. When we want to find out how much more one is than the other, if you're looking for more than or less than or the difference between things, those are all clue words to tell you that you need to subtract. You're finding the difference between them, so you use subtraction.
Find the total area of Denali and Kenai fjords. Find the difference of the areas.
Use an algorithm to find the difference. Then use addition to check your answer.
So let's pause here for a second and take a look at what they did. Now, when they're adding, they stacked it like this, where they added the numbers together and regrouped as wherever they needed to regroup. For subtraction, they set it up using our bar diagram. So they can stack and subtract, or they could use a bar diagram to subtract. So we know that the total area was right here. We know the area for one, and we were trying to find the difference between these two areas. So this was the larger one. This was the smaller one. For us to find how much bigger the larger one is than the smaller one, we have to find the difference or the missing part. So the small one plus how much is going to give us the big one, or the big one minus the part that we know is going to equal whatever the small one is.
Step 1. Find 34,287 minus 21,891. Subtract the ones. Regroup if necessary. In the ones column, how do you know you do not have to regroup?
Now remember, when we talked about regrouping, we said that the only time we need to regroup is if our top number is less than our bottom number. But if our top number is greater than or equal to our bottom number, we don't need to regroup.
7 ones are greater than 1 1, so you do not need to regroup to subtract. Step 2. Subtract the tens. Regroup if necessary. Subtract the hundreds. Regroup if necessary. Subtract the thousands and 10,000s. Regroup if necessary. Gates of the Arctic is 12,396 square kilometers larger. Step 3. Operations that undo each other are inverse operations. Addition and subtraction have an inverse relationship. How can addition be used to check the answer?
Now here we're going to use our inverse or our opposite operation. Now we know that the biggest area that we had was the Gates of the Arctic, which was 34,287 square kilometers. We know that the the Kenai Fjords was 21,891. And we found the difference, which is 12,396. So our top number is our whole number, and the two underneath it are going to be the parts that make up the whole number. Now I can use addition to double check by adding the 12,396 plus the 21,891 to see if I get my original number, the 34,287. Now, if I add those two parts together and I get that top number, I know that I did my math correctly. This is a really good way to check your work.
Add the difference to the lesser number. The sum should be the greater number.
So take a look at how they stacked it. They put the difference over here, the answer, plus the small number that they subtracted. Now, if this sum right here, the answer you get here, matches the original number you started working with, your largest number, then you know you did your math correctly. Now, before we get into our guided practice, I want to go over some of the notes with you guys. So some of the notes that we took along the way while we were listening to our lesson was the things that we need to remember. We know that we need to use the same steps when we subtract that we use when we subtract smaller numbers. So we're going to regroup the same way. We're going to stack starting from in place value order, starting from the ones the same way. We're going to regroup and borrow numbers whenever we need to, the same way we did with smaller numbers. Now, we also talked about what we called inverse operations. So an inverse operation, we use it to check our work, and it's when you do the opposite of what you did to undo the operation. So if I had 2 and I wanted to add 4. So I know 2 plus 4 altogether is going to give me 6. 2 plus 4 gives me 6. Now I can undo this by doing the opposite. Instead of doing 2 plus 4 equals 6, I can do 6, take away 4, and I see that I'm left with 2. So I'm left with one of my original numbers. So the inverse operation is when you take those things apart and you undo what you did the first time. Now, when they did their operation over here, this is the same one that they did in the example about the area of the different places in Alaska. They did the 34,287 minus the 21,893, and they got their 12,394. Now, the inverse is basically like taking this and flipping it over. My 12,394 plus my 21,893 equaled my 34,287. So you're working in the opposite way. Inverse means opposite. So let's go ahead and take a look at our guided practice. So for number 1, it says, in the subtraction problem above, why are the zeros in the 10,000s place not written in the answer? So if you take a look at your question, it says, actually, let me show it to you. Now, this is the example that they were talking about. So they're asking, why is the 0 in the 10,000s place not written over here? So when your largest place value is 0, you don't write it in because it has no value. Now, if that 0 were somewhere in the middle, you need to put it in because then it's a placeholder. So if there's a 0 in the tens place, you have to put the 0 in the tens place because there's usually numbers around it. There's numbers in the ones, there's numbers in the hundreds. But if your largest place value, when you do the math, your difference is 0, you do not need to put the 0 there. For number 2, it says the total land area of New Jersey is 19,047 square kilometers. Write and solve an equation to show how to find how much more the land area Gates of the Arctic is than New Jersey. Now remember, Gates of the Arctic was, let me pull that one back up for you guys, was the 34,287. So if we do this, let me stop my share and I can go over this with you. For this one, for number 2, if we do the 34,287 287 minus the area of New Jersey, which we said was 19,047. Again, I stacked by place value order, my ones on top of my ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, and 10,000s. So 7 minus 7 gave me 0. 8 minus 4 gave me 4. 2 minus 0 gave me 2. Now, I didn't need to start regrouping until I was out in the thousands place. I couldn't do 4 minus 9, so that became a 14, and that 3 became a 2 because I borrowed from there. 14 take away 9 gave me 5, and 2 minus 1 gave me 1. So the difference is 15,240 square kilometers. Now for number 3, it says, estimate to check whether your answer is reasonable. So the first number I got when I subtracted normally first, and then I estimated. They had 139,484 minus 116,691. So one place value at a time. 4 minus 1 is 3. 8 minus 9 I couldn't do, so that became an 18 because I borrowed from the 4, so that 4 became a 3. 18 minus 9 gave me 9. I couldn't do 3 minus 6, so that 3 became 13, and that 9 became 8. Now 13 minus 6 gave me 7. 8 minus 6 gave me 2. 3 minus 1 gave me 2, and 1 minus 1 was 0, so I didn't put anything there because remember, if our greatest place value is 0, we don't put anything, we don't write it. Now it told me to estimate to check my work. So I rounded to the nearest thousands place. So 139,484 became 139,000 because that 4 told me that that 9 is not going to go up. For the next one, 116,691, that second 6 told me that the first 6 is going to move up to 7. So it became 117,000. So 139,000 minus 117,000 gave me 22,000. So 22,000 is close to 22,793. So my answer here is reasonable. For number 4, 2,164 minus 1,398. So we're going to check my work over here. I couldn't do 4 minus 8, so I borrowed, became 14. That 6 became a 5. 14 minus 8 gave me 6. I couldn't do 5 take away 9, so that 5 became a 15, and that 1 became a 0. 15 take away 9 gave me 6. I couldn't do 0 take away 3, so that 0 became a 10, and that 2 over here became a 1 because I borrowed from it. 10 take away 3 gave me 7, and then 1 minus 1 was 0. Now I rounded again to my nearest 1,000, so my 2,164 became 2,000. My 1,398 became 1,000. 2,000 minus 1,000 gave me 1,000. 766 is close to 1,000. So again, over here, my answer is reasonable. And for number 5, they gave us the numbers 49,735 minus 25,276. So again, I couldn't do 5 take away 6. That became a 15. That 3 became a 2. 15 take away 6 gave me 9. I couldn't do 2 take away 7, so that 2 became a 12 because I borrowed from over here, and that 7 became a 6. 12 take away 7 gave me 5. 6 take away 2 was 4. 9 minus 5 is 4, and 4 minus 2 was 2. So I got 24,459. When I rounded again to my nearest thousands place, my 49,735 became 50,000. My 25,276 became 25,000. So 50,000 minus 25,000 gave me 25,000 again. And that's close to my original answer. So I know that my answer here is reasonable. Now for the last question, we have 281,311 minus 3,427. So again, stack and place value order. Even if one of your numbers has more place values, that's fine, but you always stack from the ones place. So 1 minus 7 I couldn't do. I regrouped that 1 to become an 11, and I borrowed from the other one next to it, so that when I borrowed from that 1, it became a 0. 11 take away 7 gave me 4. I couldn't do 0 take away 2, so that 0 became a 10, and I borrowed from that 3, so that 3 became a 2. 10 take away 2 gave me 8. I couldn't do 2 take away 4, so that 2 became a 12, and I borrowed from that 1, so that 1 had become a 0. 12 take away 4 gave me 8. I couldn't do 0 take away 3, so I borrowed again from the 8. So that 8 became a 7. The 0 became a group of 10. 10 take away 3 gave me 7. 7, there's nothing to subtract it from, so that 7 just drops down as is, and the 2 drops down as is. So I got 277,884. When I rounded it to my nearest thousands place, I got an answer of 278,000. So you can see that these numbers are very close to each other. Again, my answer is reasonable. Please make sure you complete all of your questions, even the ones at the bottom of the page here. So make sure you're completing the questions at the bottom of page 59 before you move on to page 60, because you do have 8 questions right here that you need to solve. Remember to regroup and write neatly so that you can check all your answers. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care, 4th grade. Bye-bye.